So here it is, the OnePlus 15 in ultraviolet. I'm totally a sucker for anything remotely purple, and even though I'm still low-key obsessed with that old school thunder purple OnePlus 6T from 2018, I'm excited to see this one in person. The unboxing is exactly what you'd expect, sticking with that classic red and black vibe OnePlus has been doing for years. If we set the phone aside for a second, you've got the signature red cable, the SIM tool, and the usual paperwork. Honestly though, it still makes me so happy to see a fast charging brick actually sitting in the box. You just don't see that anymore in the US. The ultraviolet is actually pretty subtle, but once the light hits it, the color really pops. It's interesting, depending on how you hold it, you almost get this cool bluish tint. At least that's what I'm seeing right here out of the box. OnePlus definitely went all out on the specs. You're getting the world's fastest mobile processor with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 plus a massive 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of UFS 4.1 storage. OnePlus really shrunk the bezels down this year to basically nothing, 1.15 millimeters with a body ratio of 95.5% specifically. It's a big, beautiful 6.78-inch display, and because it's an LTPO display, the refresh rate can go all the way up to 165 Hz. If you're a gamer, you're going to love this. It is locked at 120 FPS, so the gameplay is just buttery smooth. Now, I've got to address the elephant in the room. On paper, this screen actually looks a bit like a step down from the OnePlus 13. That phone had a QHD Plus display with a higher pixel density, whereas here we're looking at a 1.5K panel. According to OnePlus, they chose to prioritize the 165 Hz refresh rate, and apparently doing 2K at 165 Hz just isn't possible yet, even though this panel actually cost OnePlus more to produce. But honestly, in the real world, it's brighter than the 13, hitting 1800 nits, and if you put them side by side, it is really hard to tell the difference in sharpness. Whether you're on YouTube or gaming, you're not going to be disappointed with this display. I'm a big fan of how dim this screen can get as well. It drops to 1 nit or 0.5 if you toggle reduced white point, making it super easy on the eyes at night. It's perfect for browsing in the dark without straining your eyes or possibly waking up whoever is sleeping next to you. All of the above is powered by a 7300 milliamp hour silicon nanostack battery, the biggest battery in a consumer smartphone in North America. And of course, with that included charging brick in the box, you also can charge rapidly. OnePlus, as usual, focused heavily on durability. The 15 features a high-end cooling system using aerogel and a high-tech vapor chamber to keep it from throttling during heavy workloads. It's also IP69 rated, which is the gold standard for protection. It can handle everything from high-pressure water jets to extreme steam. Whether you're caught in a downpour or somehow it takes an accidental trip through the dishwasher, this thing is built to survive. Using the OnePlus 15 has been as smooth as you'd expect. Whatever I throw at it, it just handles it. It's a true flagship in every sense. Now, Oxygen OS 16 is solid, though I'll be honest, I do miss some of the old school aesthetics from back in the earlier days of Oxygen OS. Also, I still miss CyanogenMod, quite honestly. If you're familiar with Oppo's lineup, Oxygen OS is basically identical to ColorOS. It's hard to ignore as well that OnePlus is leaning into some Apple-inspired features in Oxygen OS, however. You've got the dynamic island, liquid glass animations, and a customizable button plus key that feels exactly like Apple's action button. It's definitely a strategic move to help iPhone users feel more at home on Android, and maybe it works to ensure that, but for me, I'd rather see OnePlus lean into what makes Android, well, Android and different. If someone really wants iOS, they're usually just going to buy an iPhone. To every Android brand out there, because it's not just OnePlus, please stop imitating iOS and innovate on Android. Like every other phone, it's packed with AI. You get features like MindSpace to help organize your thoughts, plus Google AI Pro for 3 months. That comes with 2 terabytes of cloud storage, which is a massive perk, especially if you're coming from an iPhone where the AI features still feel a bit behind. The camera has some pretty clever AI built in too. There's an AI portrait glow to help with lighting, but a great feature I've used a few times already is AI Perfect Shot. It's actually to fix photos where someone's blinked or maybe their eyes are closed, so you don't end up losing a great memory just because of bad timing. I highly recommend it for families, especially with younger kids. Speaking of cameras, there's a triple 50 megapixel wide, ultra wide, and telephoto camera setup. Specs aside, the OnePlus 15's camera setup differs from the previous OnePlus 13. Similar to downgrading the display, OnePlus decided to shift priorities towards other goals like performance, efficiency, cost. So the main and especially the telephoto use smaller sensors and slightly narrower apertures, which typically hurts low light and zoom quality. Ultimately, yes, the OnePlus 15 camera setup here is a downgrade as well from the 13. On top of that, the Hasselblad tuning or branding is gone, so the look and some of the shooting features people grew to love on previous OnePlus Hasselblad devices like X-Pan are no longer available here on the OnePlus 15. I want to be clear. These aren't bad cameras. They might not take the crown in this price range, but the colors are surprisingly true to life, which I greatly appreciate, especially when the competition seems to overprocess photos more and more year over year. At the end of the day, most people are going to be perfectly happy with how their photos turn out. For everyday stuff like social media or snapping pics of friends or family, you really aren't going to have any complaints. I've seen the critics, but let's be honest. For the average person, these cameras are great. Unless you are a pro or someone who spends their time analyzing every tiny pixel, you'll be perfectly satisfied. When you pair these cameras with everything else the OnePlus 15 brings to the table, it's honestly a win for just about anyone. Calls and signal strength have been great so far. It's got a 360-degree antenna system and a custom G2 Wi-Fi chip supporting Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. Basically, it's designed to grab a signal from anywhere, so you really don't have to worry about dropped calls or your connection cutting out when you're moving around. Connects flawlessly to both T-Mobile and Verizon in my testing. There's dual eSIM for those curious, as well as dual nano SIM slots for those still requiring physical SIM cards. The battery life on this thing is honestly next level. Even if you're a heavy user, this is easily a 2-day phone. If you're a bit lighter on your usage, you could probably stretch it to 3 days without even thinking about a charger. And I just love how fast this thing charges. Between the massive capacity and the quick charging, it is easily the primary flagship feature for buying this phone. The OnePlus 15 continues the brand's legacy of being a pure performance powerhouse. It's not a perfect sequel. There are some clear trade-offs compared to the previous model, but it remains one of the few refreshing alternatives we have in the US market. While brands like Oppo offer the Find X9 Pro with a global unit with better cameras and slightly larger battery, importing a device comes with its own set of risks that most people just don't want to deal with. I of course wish the price was lower, maybe closer to $700 competitively, especially considering the Chinese variant is priced accordingly. However, when you compare it to the predictable releases from Samsung and Google, the OnePlus 15 just feels special. It outperforms the competition in almost every category that matters to me, and honestly, I'm happy to pay the premium to have a phone that feels this different in a market that's become so predictable. So does this win you over, or are those cameras and screen trade-offs a deal breaker for you? Let me know if you're grabbing one or if you're still undecided. I look forward to the discussion in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, take care, and stay safe.